Video to try and explain how you can draw some quite nice scientific or educational graphics in Blender. I'm going to start off by creating a vector field that follows a target. So you can think of this as perhaps being looking at divergence of a vector field. So we'll start off, we'll add a cone. That you see by default that the cone has a center point just here. So we're going to move that in a second. So to convert a cone into an arrow, you go into edit mode. You can select the bottom face. You can inset it with I. And you can see down the bottom here, you can see what the thickness is. I'll type in 0.5 here. And then I can extrude it with E. And I can extrude that then perhaps 2.5 down. Because I'm in an edit mode, if I press A to select all here, and I move this object, it moves independent of the origin. If I was in object mode, the origin would move with me. So I can move him into Z, tree, excuse me, G, Z, tree, and G, Z, 0.25 should do it. And Shift Alt repeat, there we go. So now I have a cone, and I have my point at the bottom. This is convenient because now when I rotate my object, it rotates around that point. I can change it to rotate around the 3D cursor, but this will make more sense later on why I'm doing it this way. Now this guy's a bit big, so I'm going to scale him by 0.25. Okay, there we go. Now I'm going to press Ctrl A and apply the scale. So this object is now no longer thought of as a scale. If you press N over here on the side, you can see that there's our rotation, scaling, and location guys. They're all set at 0, 0, and 1. Okay. So now we want to constrain this cube to follow an object. So I'm going to add an object. We'll add a Suzanne like this. Okay, I want this cube, or sorry, this cone to follow this monkey no matter where I put it. So I'm going to select my cone. I'm going to go to the constraints, which is the little chain symbol over here, and I'm going to add a track to constraint. So in the constraint panel here, you see this is red, which means it's not currently working. Something's wrong, so we have to give it some details. So I'm going to go GX4 here to move my monkey so I can get a sense of if it's working. Okay, so with the cube, with the cone selected, my target is my Suzanne. Now this guy here, this cone, has the same local coordinate system as the scene coordinate system, so its Z is up. So we want to make the up to be X or Y, which is basically the axis orthogonal to the direction of the vector. So we can make him X, and we can make the Z direction positive Z, point towards the monkey. If you're adding a camera, for example, the camera frustum has negative Z, which is at the bottom of the frustum, the pointy end being positive Z. So now with that done, as long as this guy is X or Y, it doesn't matter. These are just axes that are orthogonal to the direction of the cone, whereas the Z direction is the direction, and that's going to give an error here. So we'll just pick X for now. So that means if I grab my monkey, I get a vector. Now to create a vector field, I could go ahead and create an array. The problem with creating an array is that it can cause issues in that all the vectors will rotate around that center point. So we'd have to create all the, get the array, apply it, and then reset all this origins. So I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be lazy and just duplicate this guy. So Shift D X tree, and then Shift R to repeat. And then I can select all those with B, do box select, Shift D Y tree, and then Shift R to repeat. And now what I've got is a bunch of blue lines collecting all my vectors and my monkey, and they follow pretty nicely. They don't scale as yet, they just change their direction around their respective origins, but scaling them shouldn't be a big deal using one of the other constraints here. So you have other constraints here you can add, such as copy scale. So you could probably use that by having an invisible object tagged from here to here, and then you can copy the scale and control its influence.